Shalom, 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 everybody. I pray everybody is doing well today. Hey, it's good that we're here. It's good that people are tuning in. I'm glad that you're here. I'm a few minutes behind the schedule because normally we would start right at 5:30 Central. But I wanted to give y'all a little bit of time to catch that track, midweek meditation. Zamira, Prince David, Bezalel, put in some good effort on that track, so I wanted to let it marinate for you guys. But today's topic is lies my oppressor taught me. Lies my oppressor taught me their holidays, We got to get into it today because I think if you've been paying attention to the Bible trivia, to the daily verses, we're learning a little bit about false holidays. We're learning about the fact that our people, in tradition of time, have been worshiping the wrong deity, And I have to say a deity because when we're not worshiping the Most High God, we're worshiping a demigod, a deity, a false idol. We're worshiping these different things that are not to be worshipped. And a lot of us don't even know it. A lot of us don't realize we're in the midst of idolatry. A lot of us don't realize that as we go through and celebrate these holidays, instead of celebrating the holy days that God has given us, that we're in the midst of some things that we shouldn't be a part of. A lot of people don't realize that. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to learn a little bit about and meditate a little bit on the things that God has put in His Bible to let us know how we got to where we are today and why we're in the midst of many of the wrong things and don't even know about the things that our God has given us to celebrate. So we got a couple of people. We got a couple people in here. We got Rick Judah. We got Eleazar. We got Jariah. We got. Let me look. We got Apples. We got Capable. I don't know. These names that we have on various platforms. You never know what someone's real name is. You never know. We got Mashiach. So we got to talk about these things. We got to talk about it. Midweek meditations, the goal is to meditate on these things and make application in your life, to really think about what the Bible has been saying, not just parakeet it, not just recite the words, but actually absorb it into your mentality, absorb it into your thought process, absorb it into who you are so that it can come out and show the world the light that you actually have. Not in a forceful, not in an abrasive way, but in a real way. And if we meditate on how we got where we are today, if we meditate on what God wants us to do, as opposed to what we're accustomed to doing, it might actually change some things. And I don't know if you're paying attention, but if you are an Israelite and you're keeping the laws of God and you're keeping the high holy days, not the holidays, but the holy days that God has put in His Bible, you know that we're in a season where we're about to have a lot of festivities going on, a lot of feast days. There's a lot of holy days compacted into this season that we're currently in, and it's time for us to pay attention to it. So we got DRC, we got Zulu, we got Ariel, we got Jeremiah. We got people in the building, and y'all just keep saying shalom. As I see you in the comments, I'll shout you out. But first and foremost, thanks to those who have been putting in the work to help put out these daily verses, to help come up with these images, to help put out the Bible trivia. All of you workers, you're very much appreciated because this is how you put in the bricks. This is how you help spread the gospel. And for those of you who have donated to the cause, I see you, I appreciate you, and it's going a long way. So we're going to get into it. We're going to start. I know a lot of precept kings out there probably think that they're going to start in somewhere like Jeremiah 10 or but we're going to start in Maccabees. This is where we're going to start to get some understanding on the lies that our oppressor has taught us, the holidays. I like to call them the folly days, the hella days, You've heard different people say different things, but nonetheless, these are not holy days that many of us have learned to keep in the modern era that we're in, and notice I said error, not era. We're in the modern era because we're making a lot of mistakes, and it's only because we don't have the thoughtfulness to seek out the information that we need to seek out, and to the care and the concern and consideration to say, you know what, I have this information, now let me use it. So we're going to use it. Maccabees, First Maccabees, chapter 1, verse 41. That's where we're going to start today. So grab your Bible. You know, we're in the Apocrypha right now. For those of you who don't know, the Apocrypha are the missing books of the Bible that was removed from the Bible. You know, the Roman Catholics had it in their Bible, but during the Protestant Reformation, when churches started to say, I want to be a different type of Christian, they removed these books. These are important books, very important books to understanding our history. So we're going to go ahead and read 1 Maccabees chapter 1, verse 41. It says, moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people. Now, I got to give y'all a little history lesson. If you don't already know, I encourage you to read all of Maccabees and at least get all of the chapter for context, but reading it all is going to put it in full spectrum. King Antiochus basically is the ruling power of the Greek kingdom, who is a descendant, as you read up in the top, was a person who has been able to reach the throne by the fact that Alexander, the son of Philip the Macedonian, conquered the Persians and the Medes and began to rule from Greece. Now, so we get down, and like I say, read it for yourself. I'm not going to give you all the game. God has it written here for you to read for yourself, and that's another goal of Midweek Meditation, is to encourage you to read for yourself. Quit listening to people tell you something and you just say, my pastor said, my bishop said, my deacon said, my elder said. No, go and validate and verify and then say, you know what, thank you for pointing me in the right direction. Now I know for myself. That's what we're doing here, encouraging to read, right? Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people. So once these Greeks are in power and they're ruling over all of these different places, all of these different people, all of these different nations, now they're saying, now the people that I rule over, I want y'all to, instead of being considered individual nations of people with individual ideologies and individual thought processes, I want you all to be one people. And everyone should leave his laws. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. So Antiochus wanted the people to leave the laws of their country, of their nationality, of their people. And everybody would come together. And the heathen were okay with that. The heathen agreed to do that. It says, yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion. So even some of the Israelites consented. And by leaving the laws, it said religion. So take the correlation to understand that when you create laws, a lot of times they're wrapped within the religion of the people. So if you look at the Israelites, that is us, we're the Israelites, those who are descendants from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, who fit the curses of Deuteronomy 28, and many of us have been scattered throughout North, South, and Central America through the slave trade. We have God's laws, and even though we understand it to be our heritage, it is viewed as religion, and because it is the laws that are given are the things that constrain us. It says, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion and sacrificed unto idols and profaned the Sabbath. So we know that the Israelites were not permitted to deal with idolatry, to deal with idols, meaning to deal with a belief system and a worship of other deities, other things that are professing to be gods, but are not the Most High God. We did that though. We began to sacrifice unto idols. Instead of doing the sacrifices to the Most High God, we started sacrificing to other gods of other nationalities. Now don't get me wrong. this is not the beginning of idolatry. That started way back in various other books in the Bible. That started way back in various other time periods throughout history. We've been doing that since Adam and Eve, right? However, this is the time where a ruler, a leader, is now forcing all people of his kingdom to leave their belief system and join his belief system. So it says, many consented to his religion and sacrificed unto idols. And not only did they sacrifice unto idols, they profaned the Sabbath. Meaning what? That they did not keep it holy, because the Bible says, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. And instead, they made it a wicked day as well. Now, real quick, this is a good topic. This is something that we need to hear, because we got some things coming up on the calendar on the wicked side, if you will, that you're probably going to partake in. So you need to share this thing, because you and your buddies were probably planning to be a part of the no, let me not say it that way. Holidays, false holidays that the world has pushed you to do that you didn't realize you shouldn't do. And for many of us on the other side, we are about to go into a season full of righteous festivities, and it'd be great for your people to think about it and consider that. So hit that share button, get it on your wall, get it in the DM of one of your friends, your family members, maybe even a stranger. And I see my little nephew in the building. What's going on, Bryson? Get the share button working, okay? You got an audience that listens to the foolishness. Now get the audience to listen to the righteousness. I see you, Barry. It says, for the king has sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Judah, that they should follow the strange laws of the land. I had to accentuate the word strange, because these laws that we were beginning to keep were not something that we were originally accustomed to. They were not something that we found cool, things that we should do. We actually looked at them as things that we should not do. But we say, you know what? The king said do it. And I respect the king more than I respect God for some reason. You know, not everybody was like that, but some did. That's why I said many also, not all of us. So the king's letter went out, and we followed the strange laws of the land. Verse 45, and forbid burnt offerings and sacrifices and drink offerings. Remember, burnt offerings, sacrifices, and drink offerings, those were the things that we were supposed to do, that the Levitical priest would perform, you know, for the new moons, for the Sabbaths, for the high holy days, and for sin, to fix the issues within our, you know, community. They were doing that service, and now that service is forbidden. Now, don't get me wrong. We all know that, you know, when Christ got on the scene, that got done away anyway, but this is before Christ. This is when we still are having to do things the way God told Moses to tell us to do things. We were following the Mosaic laws, which I mean by that is sacrificial laws, because there's multiple types of laws. Don't throw out all the laws when only the sacrificial laws got done away with under Christ. This is what was going on. This is what was happening. And in the temple, you were no longer able to do your offerings as the priests were supposed to do. And they should profane the Sabbath and festival days. So instead of doing the worship, instead of doing the sacrifice, now other things were beginning to happen on those days in the temple. 46, and pollute the sanctuary and the holy people. So what would happen when we profaned the Sabbath? What would happen when we didn't keep the festival days that were customs of our people? When the king said you are now no longer allowed to do it, oh well, it polluted our sanctuary. You know what else? It polluted the holy people. Now these people who are cleansing themselves, well, they dirty. And I don't mean just dirty, need to take a bath dirty. I mean their spirit is dirty. I mean their mind, their thoughts are dirty. Their actions are dirty. The people are now polluted and no longer are righteous. Because remember, it is our righteousness if we keep the commandments. But if we're not keeping the commandments, that must mean it's our wickedness. It says, set up altars and groves and chapels of idols. So they would set up altars to sacrifice to the idols. They would set up places for the idols to be worshipped and sacrifice not clean animals, not the goat, not the turtle dove, but swine's flesh and unclean beast. Verse 48. This is what we will begin to do. We went and did a complete 180. We turned around and went the opposite direction from what God had taught us to do. Verse 48, that they should also leave their children uncircumcised. So now we stop doing the customs, not only in festival fashion, not only in celebration of what great things God did for us. We stopped doing that. But then we also stopped circumcising our children. What does that mean? We didn't even teach our children the laws. So it's not just the fact that they didn't get the physical snip of the circumcision, but they also were beginning to not grow up keeping the laws that many of our forefathers did grow up keeping until they got into a situation where the heathen forced them to stop. At least they grew up knowing, and they had something to remember. At least they had something they could hide and try to, do it when no one's looking, It says, and make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanness and profanation. So, at the end result of what the king's letters did, and the king's request to all be one people did, and it left us in a position where our soul was now abominable. Now, when we read abominable, we got to understand that means it was extremely hated, detestable. God didn't like our souls, is what it's saying, and he didn't just like it lightweight, dislike it on a lightweight fashion. He hated the fact that this is how we were doing. Why? Because we were the most unclean of unclean could be. It says all manner of uncleanness. Like, sometimes you're just a little dirty. You got a few things to fix, but you're doing some things right. But now it gets to the point where everything you do is wrong. You profane in your whole life. Your soul is unclean. To the end that they might forget the law. See, that's what happened when you don't teach your children. That's what happened when you're not practicing for so long, that you actually forget how to practice the laws of God and change all the ordinances. And so now everything you do or have done in the past and were accustomed to doing, you have completely stopped doing that. And now you are doing something else in replace of it. So now all the ordinances that you once did have been changed. It says, where are we? Okay, verse 50. And whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king, he said he should die. Because it might have been somebody who was a little rebellious to what the king said, but wanted to keep what God said. It might have been somebody who was holding true. Well, we got to get rid of that guy, because if there's one that will do it, there's multiple that will do it. We only want to keep the people who are willing to give up their laws. So the king made this serious. The king made this something that had to be done. We got to kill this dude. We got to kill these people. We got to kill them. In the self-same manner, he wrote, in the self-same manner wrote he to his whole kingdom and appointed overseers over all the people, commanding the cities of Judah to sacrifice city by city. So he had to enforce, Antiochus had to enforce this. He put out overseers to pay attention, watch the people, and enforce their newfound religion, and make sure that nobody was doing their old religion, keeping God's laws, because now I got to tell on you, and now I got to get you put to death. It says, then many other people were gathered unto him with everyone that forsook the law, and so they committed evils in the land. People came together, they started committing the evil. They broke God's commandments, in short, and drove the Israelites into secret places, and whithersoever they could flee for succor. Now the 15th day of the month Caslu, in the 50th year, they set up abominations of desolation upon the altar, and builded idol altars throughout the cities of Judah every side, and burned incense at the door of their houses and in the streets. And when they had rent in pieces the books of the law, which they found, they burnt them with fire. So not only did he force them to keep new laws that they were not accustomed to, not only did he force them to stop teaching the children, not only did he force them to keep the laws to the extent that if you did anything alternatively, you would die. Not only did he put overseers, but then he burnt the books, which were the records of how we were to keep them, which would prevent us from being able to find that information, since the goal was that we might forget the law, that we would change all the ordinances. That was the end goal. It says, whoever found with any book of the testament, or if any committed to the law, the king's commandment was that he should be put to death. So if we found you with the book, if we found you with the Bible, if we found you doing something that was Israelite-like, oh, wait a minute, that looked like something that only Israelites do, we got to put them to death, is what they said. So it said, thus did they by their authority unto the Israelites every month. So there was a monthly check to see, okay, are they trying to keep these holy days? Because guess what? Every month we had new moons. We had some Sabbaths going throughout the month. And then every season we had holy days to go throughout. And we had to make sure that instead of those things, this is what the overseers were doing, by the way, when I say we. I don't mean me, I mean they. Let me say it that way. What they had to make sure of is that instead of that they were worshiping and sacrificing to the idols, to the altar of the idols. Now, the 5 and 20th day of the month, they did sacrifice upon the idol altar, which was upon the altar of God. So they're desecrating, they're making the altar of God abominable because they're sacrificing to other idols. At which time, according to the commandment, they put to death certain women that had caused their children to be circumcised. Women that were rebellious to what the king said and said, you know what, I'm still going to circumcise my child. I'm still going to try to sneak and influence them, because, I mean, with the circumcision, that thing ain't just showing. You have to actively check and say, you know what, let me see what's going on here. Make sure they're not doing this to the, oh, wait, they are. So I got to take a look. This is what the heathen were doing. This is what the people that hated God's people were doing. They were saying, I'm going to force. And I don't mean I'm just going to tell you. I'm going to, put the knife to your back. Put the gun to your head. I'm going to put the rope around your neck. I'm going to say, if you do what you want to do, I'm going to kill you. That's what they said. That's what they said. And let's see that they said that. And they hanged the infants about their neck. They hanged babies from the neck and rifled their houses and slew them that had circumcised them. Howbeit many in Israel were fully resolved and confirmed in themselves not to eat any unclean thing. But there was still some people. There was still some people who had the strength in them to say, you know what, I'd rather die keeping God's commandments than live keeping the commandment of a wicked king. Wherefore the rather to die, they might not be defiled with meats. They didn't want to be defiled. And that they might not profane any the holy covenant. So then they died. And there was very great wrath upon Israel. This is the history, people. This is the history of why today you black man, you native, this is why you are keeping customs that your foreparents never kept. Because you were forced. And this didn't just happen in the time of the Maccabees. This happened during the time of any of the recent conquests that of the people who descend from the Greeks and the Romans. Yeah, see, when we understand historically, those who descend from the Greeks and the Romans are the modern day Caucasian man now, the modern day so-called white man now, those who are rulers of the European nations that have conquered the whole world in this modern day. See, what you got to understand is the Greco-Roman Empire, America is just an extension of that. So the Germans, the Italians, the Spaniards, the English, etc. Those are the people who were descendants of the Romans, who were descendants of the Greeks. I'm talking about those who made the Greco-Roman Empire, because guess what? Even in Rome, even in Greece, there were other nations there. And some of them who might have owned the land first were kicked out. But these modern day people who have made a conquest of the entire world, these are the people that have been pushing their belief system and enforcing your belief system away. So now a lot of people get offended when you start to tell the truth. A lot of people get offended when you start to say who did what. But we got to give the truth. We got to be honest. We got to understand who we are and who they are and what the difference is between us. And even though you may have great contributions to society, you may be smarter, you may be nice, and you may be this and that, at the end of the day, the record is showing right here that this is how people got down. The record is showing right here that it was serious. And even in the more recent slaveries in the 1600s in America, these same things happened. In the 1500s, in the South America and Central America, these things happen. And even to this day, we still have to understand that these things are true. So, where are we? We're going to go to 2 Maccabees. I encourage you to read all of 1 Maccabees. But we're skipping over to 2 Maccabees chapter 6, verse 1 right now. Now, before we do that, I want to look at the comments real quick. I see Eleazar saying they burn books just like the Vatican hiding our books today. Now Esau giving them bonus money to keep those evil holidays. Hey, you're not lying. You're not lying. Like, now they're more subtle. People are more subtle with it. They may be a little more, a little more humane, but it's still oppression. It's still a lie being taught to you that is purposeful and beneficial to their cause. Hey, man, somebody better share the broadcast, because somebody needs to hear this, because somebody's getting ready to get their little bonus check this year. And while I'm not saying don't take the money, I'm saying don't get deceived, for the gift destroyeth the heart. Here we go. 2 Maccabees 6 and 1. It says, not long after this, the king sent an old man of Athens to compel the Jews to depart from the laws of their fathers. So remember what we read in chapter 1. This is giving more details to how these things were done. And not to live after the laws of God. Don't live after the laws of God? Okay, well, there's a problem there. Well, that's not what we should be expecting. And to pollute the temple in Jerusalem and call it the temple of Jupiter. So when they took the temple of God and changed it to idol, now it's giving you the specifics of, in this case, now they renamed it the temple of Jupiter. Let that idol be the God that we worship here. And that in Gerizim of Jupiter, the defender of strangers, as they did desire that dwell in the place. The coming in of this mischief was sore and grievous to the people. For the temple was filled with riot and reveling by the Gentiles, who dallied with harlots and had to do with women within the circuit of the holy places. Oh, wait a minute, wait. Now, I know y'all are righteous and holy and would never do such a thing, but there was a time where people was defiling the holy place with fornication, with sex. Like, who does that? Who's fornicating in the temple of God? If you're going to be wicked, at least be wicked respectfully in a different place, right? That's the mindset that some of y'all have, like it's any better. It's not any better. It's just as bad and worse. Sin is sin, but it sounds really bad when, you don't even try to hide your sin. You don't even try to do it by the night light and creep in the house. Now, you just, man, we can go turn the church into a whorehouse, the temple into a whorehouse. It says, for the temple was filled with riot and reveling. So they were doing, crazy stuff in the temple by the Gentiles who dallied with harlots and had to do with women within the circuit of the holy places. and beside that brought in the thing that were not lawful. Okay, verse 5. The altar was filled with profane things which the law forbiddeth. So everything that God said don't do, that's what these people were doing. Neither was it lawful for a man to keep Sabbath days or ancient feasts, fast, or profess himself at all to be a Jew. So just like we read in 1 Maccabees, man, if you did anything remotely Jew-like, you're going to get put to death. To the point where you couldn't even say, I'm a Jew. Now, isn't that, very likely of the modern day time we're in now? People are under fire right now for professing to say that they are the real Jew. It becomes unlawful in a sense because now action can get taken against you. You can lose your job. You can lose money. You can lose all credibility if you tell the truth about your nationality. So now here we go. We're going to read down a little more. Let's skip down to verse 18. And I want y'all to read on, for your personal. Put it in your notes. Continue the reading. But we're skipping to verse 18. It says this. Eleazar, one of the principal scribes, an aged man, and of well-favored countenance, was constrained to open his mouth and eat swine's flesh, but he choosing rather to die gloriously than to live stained with such an abomination, spit it forth, and came out of his own accord to the torment, as it behooved them to come, that was resolute to stand out against such things as are not lawful for love of life to be tasted. Okay, so Eleazar, unlike some of the people who are going willingly, he is fighting against it. He's saying, I'm not going to profane myself, not going to make my soul abominable. We had examples of that in 1 Maccabees in general sense, but now we're getting a specific person who did it, who was one to stand up against it and was willing to die rather than to live stained. That's the type of mindset that we got to have, right? But not everybody has it. But they that had the charge of the wicked feast, for the old acquaintance they had with the man, taking him aside, besought him to bring flesh of his own provision, such as was lawful for him to use, and to make as if he did eat of the flesh taken from the sacrifice commanded by the king. So now we have an opportunity. Okay, you're not going to die. I like you. You're my friend. You're my buddy. And I'm not going to be the snitch. I'm not going to be that overseer that gets you in trouble. Okay, you can pretend, you can fake, you can still live if you just act like you did it. I see you, Michael. That in doing so he might be delivered from death, from the old friendship with them find favor. But he began to consider discreetly, and as became his age and excellency of ancient years, and the honor of his gray head whereon was come, and his most honest education from a child, or rather the holy law made and given by God. Therefore he answered accordingly, and willed them straight ways to send him to the grave. He said, man, I got too many people looking at me. I'm an example to the people. And I've been living my life with excellency. All the years I've been living upright. There's honor in the way that I've been living. I can't go out like this. I cannot now defile myself after all these years of keeping God's commandments. See, that's something important, because a lot of people think that, this truth is a fad to be in, and, for 5 minutes you was doing it gung-ho, but then you went back into the world. And for those of you who have done that, you're really staining your honor. It would have been better that you suffered through the hardship in righteousness than to give up and go back into the world, to go back to drugs, to selling drugs, to go back to committing fornication, to go back to believing something that's a lie, like celebrating the false holidays that we're referring to today. He said, nah, go ahead and kill me. I want to die on top. I want to die righteous. For it becometh not our age, said he, in any wise to dissemble, whereby many young persons might think that Eleazar, being 80 years old and 90 years old, were now gone to a strange religion. It would be bad if people thought that Eleazar, who for 90 years have been doing it the right way, has now decided, you know what, I'm going to forsake God and his laws. And so they, through mine hypocrisy and desire to live a little time and a moment longer, should be deceived by me. Now, I'm not going to deceive people just to live longer, which I probably don't have much longer to live anyway. I'm already an old man. So why not go out like this instead of trying to live one more year and then die anyway? He said, and get a stain on mine old age and make it abominable. For though for the present time I should be delivered from the punishment of men, yet should I not escape the hand of the Almighty, neither alive nor dead. You can't escape God, is what he was saying. You won't kill me, but God will. And God can kill my body and my soul. You can just take my body. So when you're really looking at these things, this is the spirit that we should have been in. But yet we see that there was some on one side of the fence and some on the other. Now, what is the topic? Remember what we're talking about today. We're talking about the lies that your oppressor has taught you. We're talking about these false holidays that have been forced upon you to the point where you forgot your own holidays, your own holy days. And now you think that Passover is strange, Tabernacles is strange, dedication is strange. But you think that Christmas, Valentine's Day, Halloween, that's what's normal. That's what's real. No, we got to get that corrected in our mindset, because we should be living like Eleazar to say, I don't care what y'all say, I ain't doing that. But no, we get caught up. We get put in situations to where we're not strong enough. But we got to ask ourselves, why would the king do this? The king of the Greece, the Greeks, I should say. Well, let's go to Psalms 83. Psalms 83 says, For lo, mine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up their head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones. So, verse 4, they have said, Come, let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. So remember, they wanted our laws to not be in remembrance, but they also wanted us as a people to not be in remembrance too, because remember, it said it wasn't even lawful to profess at all to be a Jew. You couldn't even say, I am a Jew. And you think about the modern time we live in, nobody talks about Israelites. They say Israelis, they say Jewish, but no one's talking about the Israelites who were Jews because they came from the tribe of Judah or the southern kingdom of Judah. And no one is talking about the northern kingdom of Israel. So it says that they're going to cut us off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more. It says, I see you, Josiah. For they have consulted together with one consent, and they are confederate against thee. That lines up with what was said, that all the heathen consented to the king. And then when these letters go out and the overseers go out, everybody is willing to uphold that. Now let's go to Judith 5:1. Then it was declared to Holofernes, the chief captain of the army of Assur, that the children of Israel had prepared for war, and had shut up the passages of the hill country, and had fortified all the tops of the hills, and had laid impediments in the Champagne countries. In the Champagne countries. Wherewith he was very angry, and called all the princes of Moab, and the captains of Ammon, and the governors of the sea coast, and he said unto them. So this guy who was from Assur started consulting with the Moabites, with the Ammonites, and other leaders within that land. And he consulted against them because he knew that these Israelites were getting ready for war, and he wanted to defeat them. Just like we see in Psalms 83, where people would come together and be confederate against thee. We're about to see that here. So that was 1 through 4. No, 1 through 3. We got to go to 4. And he said unto them, tell me now, ye sons of Canaan, who this people is that dwell in the hill country, and what are the cities that they inhabit, and what is the multitude of their army, and wherein is their power and strength. So one of the things that he wanted to know was, what was their power and strength, and what king is set over them or captain of their army, and why have they determined not to come and meet me? Why are they being rebellious and not doing what I say as a king in this land, right? More than all the inhabitants of the west. So we think about this. Holofernes is asking about the Israelite history. One of the main things he wants to know is, what is their strength? One of the main things he wants to know is, why are you not coming to meet me? Well, the strength was the Most High God, as we're about to read further down. The strength is that we keep the commandments. The fact that we don't want to meet you is we don't want to be defiled. Verse 5, it says, then Achior, the captain of the sons of Ammon, let my Lord now hear a word from the mouth of thy servant, and I will declare unto thee the truth concerning this people. This man begins to spill the beans. He begins to tell the story of the Israelites and answer the questions. And we skip down. Verse 8, it says, for they left the way of their ancestors and worshiped the God of heaven. That was where we started getting everything going well for us, because we were in different lands, if you read up about Mesopotamia, and we had to flee Mesopotamia because it was going down there in a way that God was not appreciating and liking, and we were brought into a land that we could dwell in, and we could do our thing and live and learn our laws and commandments and keep and worship them the way the Most High God wanted us to do. But the history continues, and he goes down and forth. I encourage you to read that. And then he says, verse 17, let's see. And whilst they sinned not before their God, they prospered, because the God that hateth iniquity was with them. But when they departed from the way which he appointed them, they were destroyed in many battles, very sore, and were led captive into a land that was not theirs. And the temple of their God was cast to the ground, and their cities was taken by enemies. This is what happened in the Maccabees. Our cities were taken from us, were casted down, our temples were destroyed. But this came in a time when we were giving up on keeping the commandments of God, where we decided to go and do something contrary to what God had told us to do. I see you, chosen one. So we really examine these things. We really begin to say, you know what? This is our history. This is how we ended up celebrating the wrong things. This is how we began fellowshipping with the wrong people. This is how we began to forget what God was really all about. Okay, now we're taking this into consideration, because that's what's different about you who are on live with me right now. You know, you don't just fall for the okie doke that the world presents to you. You don't just listen to anybody. You actually care to learn a little bit, right? That's what's different about you guys, right? I think I'm, really understanding you. I think I really know you a little bit better now that we begin to come together week after week, right? That we're meditating together and sharing. Well, the other nations, they really, dug deep to understand us. And we got to dig deep to understand them, so that we can understand why they did certain things to us. We for some reason foolishly think that everybody is out for our best interests. Sometimes we foolishly think that the other nations really care about us the way that we need to be cared about. You mistake their kindness for true and genuine desire for you to be on top, when you fail to realize that in order for you to be on top, they had to be on bottom and vice versa. So if we really step back for a minute and understand the history of various people, the history of the Ammonites, the Moabites, the history of the Edomites, the history of the Ishmaelites, and the history of your own people, the Israelites, you really get a chance to say, you know what, now I understand. So, in Judah 5, Achior lets Holofernes know that if we sin, then they can win against us. But if we don't sin, they can't win against us. That's what he's really getting at here. I know the secret to their success, and I know how we can have our success. Get them to sin against their God. Because we cannot defeat them if they're worshiping their God. We cannot defeat them if they're celebrating their high holy days. We cannot defeat them if they're sacrificing to their God on a clean altar and have a pure spirit and soul. But if we can make that thing abominable, then we got a chance. So let's go to 1 John 3 and 4, because some of you got to understand what sin is. See, right now we're talking about the lies that your oppressor has taught you and the fake holidays. And by fake, I mean they're real. They're just not real to you. They have nothing to do with your nationality. They have nothing to do with your upliftment. They have nothing to do with you overcoming anything. They're somebody else's holiday and you just tagging along for the ride when it really ain't about you. So what is it? How does it relate to sin? Well, sin, 1 John 3 and 4 is, whosoever committeth sin transgresseth also the law, for sin is the transgression of the law. Sin is you not keeping any of the laws. God said, sacrifice on the altar that has been dedicated for me of bull and goats on the Sabbath days, on the new moons, right? On the high holy days, and then you go and have sex on the altar. You go and bring a pig and slaughter that on the altar. You go and name the temple Jupiter, Olympus. Well, that's sin. You know, people want to think that the fake holidays that they're living and celebrating is not sin, but it's sin because you are worshiping something that God said don't worship. Let's go to Exodus 20 and think about it. There are the 10 commandments that many of us know, even though there are way more than 10 commandments, but we act like there's only 10 commandments. You Christians, right? However, you don't keep none of the 10. The scripture says in verse 3, Exodus chapter 20, thou shalt have no other gods before me, but you got Jupiter before you. But that's in the Maccabees time. There's other times too. Because you began to make gods out of Easter, out of Christmas, out of Halloween, out of Mother's Day, out of Father's Day, whatever it is you're doing, those end up becoming your gods. Those presents are your gods. That chocolate and that dinner in the movie, that's your God, sis. Or your God is the fact that everybody is honoring you and putting you on a pedestal, instead of you putting God on the pedestal that he belongs on. It says, thou shalt have no other gods before me, but everything else has now become before God in what you worship. It says, thou shalt not make thee any graven images, but you have made graven images and bowed down and worshiped them, or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Now, I may mention that, it's all about the bow down and worshiping. It's not about the fact that there is an image. It's about what you do with that image. And there's precepts for that prayerfully. You already got it written down in your Bible. If not, send me a message and ask me for it. I'm not going to give you all the game now, because the goal of Midweek Meditation is to have you meditate on the scriptures, to have you read the Bible for yourself, and to quit taking someone else's word for it and letting them drag you into the ditch. Because when you get to the kingdom, let me say it like this, when you get to the gates to enter the kingdom, and you think that you're going in, and God says, well, you did this, and you say, oh, well, that was Pastor such and such. He told me this. I just did what he told me. So what? You still guilty. So, like I said, share that thing on Periscope, on Facebook, on YouTube, wherever you want to sell it. Send it to in a text message to your friend. Just give them the link. Email them. Because somebody's going to do this. One of your friends is going to be at the gate not getting in. And guess what? This ain't the club. You can't say, I know him, let him in. Nah. Only those of you who are righteous are getting in. Only those of you who have your name written in the book of life will get in. Only those of you who have lived a righteous life will get in. Oh, you don't believe me? The scripture says that fornicators, idolaters, effeminate, all type of people are not getting in. Find that in your Bible. It says, thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor to serve them. See what I'm saying? Didn't even have to go far for the precept, did you? But there's more precepts than that. Read your Bible and get the understanding. For I, the Lord, thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me. You want to be that guy. You want to be part of the thousands that love, that will get the mercy. Eleazar, in Maccabees chapter 6, he the one getting the mercy. Read chapter 7. The sons and the mother, they getting the mercy. Look at all of those people in chapter 1 that did try to keep the laws, that was circumcising their children still. They're the ones getting the mercy. Oh, but for you people, yes, you people, who have said, you know what, it's just for the kids. I'm going to do Christmas for the kids. Do better. Oh, Easter eggs, it's just for the kids. Oh, you know better but won't do better. Well, God got a place for you. So it says that he going to show mercy to those that keep the commandments. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. All of these commandments just got thrown out the window because you worship on Sunday now, because your oppressor told you to. You believe in making a holiday out of Resurrection Sunday, out of Easter, but you don't believe in doing Passover. Oh, you want to do Christmas, but you're not going to do the Feast of Dedication. You're going to let another nation of people keep the holy day better than you do. And better is relative, but they keeping it and you not. They keeping Yom Kippur. They're keeping Hanukkah. But you don't even know what it is. Well, maybe you do, but your friends don't. That's why I keep asking you to share, because your brother, your sister, your aunt, your uncle, your cousin, your mama, your grandparents, your co-workers and the people you don't know, and that girl you're trying to get with, and that dude that you so in love with, they need to hear it. So if you're trying to get yourself right, hopefully you love other people enough too to get themselves right. Or maybe you're just like the heathen here that got that crafty counsel that they want you to be unclean. They want you to be defiled. They want you to go against God's commandments so that you can be defeated. Maybe you got that spirit on you. But, I know that, you loyal subscribers, nah, that's not you. You righteous. You holy. But look, on verse 10, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, or maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all the things in it, and rested the seventh. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Man, y'all not keeping that. Because with the changes that that the king forced you into, you say, you know what, I ain't keeping the Sabbath. I can't do that because they'll kill me. So I'm going to go ahead and work on the Sabbath. You know what? I'll just worship on the Sunday. I'm not even going to worship my God on Sunday. I'll create a God that is seeming to be Christian, seeming to be Christ-like, but it ain't. Caesar Borgia is now my God. That ain't what the Bible said. Now you worshiping a graven image, just like we said don't do. Thus saith the Lord. Have you considered these things? See, there's a black man, a black woman right now saying, you know what? I'm going to make sure I have my flag on for 4th of July. Oh, I can't wait till Memorial Day, Labor Day, because I'm proud to be an American. I want to be just like everybody else. The great melting pot, right? Well, that's what happened in the Maccabees when he said all will be one people. You begin to forget who you are. You might never know. You don't even know who you are. You can't forget it now because your parents, in their effort to stop circumcising you, they stopped giving you any of the knowledge that you were supposed to have. But y'all not really listening. Because somebody is thinking, man, you know what? October is coming. I got to figure out, you know, if I'm going to wear that Space Jam or that Wakanda Black Panther, or am I going to, as the slutty nurse, am I going to dress like that? Am I going to put the pumpkin and the ghost in my yard? That's what y'all thinking about. Not you, but you know who it is. You know who you are. You know who you're not. God know too. So it says, 2 Maccabees chapter 6 again. It says, let's go to verse 6. Neither was it lawful for any man to keep Sabbath days or ancient feasts, or to profess himself at all to be a Jew. It was not lawful. If you did it, you would be put on the death penalty. See, you know how black folk, we be getting the worst punishments. And we be on death row and serving life in prison and stuff for minor offenses in comparison to what the other nations do. Like, you have to be a terrorist if you're the other nations. You have to be someone who shoots up a whole building of people to get the death penalty. But to be a black man, you can get life shooting warning shots in the air. You can get the death penalty on self-defense. And you can get the death penalty just by saying you're a Jew. You can get the death penalty just by trying to keep the Sabbath. You can get the death penalty just by saying we're the real Jews. Because the death penalty don't have to be the rope hanging you. It could be, let me cut off his money so he can't feed himself. That's the death penalty too. Verse 7. And in the day of the king's birth, every month they were brought by bitter constraint to eat the sacrifice. Wait a minute. So on the king's birthday, you know, we love to celebrate birthdays, but we're finding out that that same guy that took your Passover, your Feast of Tabernacles, your new moon, your Sabbath, and told you if you keep that, I'm going to kill you. The same guy that said you got to start sacrificing on your righteous altar with profane things, and you got to start having sex with harlots in this room, is the same one that said it's my birthday and you need to eat the sacrifices on my birthday. Eleazar, come eat this pork in front of the people on my birthday so that they can believe the way I want them to believe. Eleazar said, man, kill me. I'm not about to do my people like this. If I'm going to die, I'm going to die with them saying, hey, a righteous man stood before me and I want to follow his example. That's how I'm going to go out. So it said that they were brought by bitter constraint. You know what that means? They were forced. It wasn't no, hey, would you like to go out to eat? Yeah, sure. Okay, hop in the car, ride with me. No, it was, I'm going to grab him by the back of his neck with a sword in his back, kick him into the room, toss him into the room, and really force the guy. Put him in submission. Make him feel like, you know what I wanted to say. Make him feel like he can't make any other decision. And when the fast of Bacchus was kept, the Jews were compelled to go in procession to Bacchus carrying ivy. So they had a celebration to Bacchus. So we got to understand what that is. And I see death before dishonor. That was a good point there, right there. I like that. We're going to go to Google We're going to learn something from Google real quick. Let's see. What we want to read from. Going to go to the encyclopedia. Give me one moment. So here we are. We're going to read a little bit about Bacchanalia. This is the Greco-Roman festival. Let me give y'all a little zoom action. Get all these ads out the way. Everybody trying to make money, right? Bacchanalia, also called Dionysia, is the Greco-Roman religion. Any of the several festivals of Bacchus. That's what we're just talking about, right? The wine god. Okay, so this is the god of wine. They probably originated the rites of fertility gods. Well, that's interesting. Because they got us having sex on the altars right here. The most famous of the Greek Dionysia were the Attica and included the little and the rustic Dionysia, characterized by simple, old-fashioned rites. The Linnea, which included a festal procession and dramatic performances. So that's what is going on right here in the thing that we're reading right now. Another pop-up. Nope, not signing up. It says the Anthestria, essentially a drinking feast, the city or the great Dionysia accompanied by dramatic performances and theater of Dionysius, which was the most famous of all, and the Osphoria carrying of the grape clusters. I need y'all to look at this. I'm sorry, it's a little explicit, but you gotta look at this. Everybody naked, drunk, and doing what they do with other people. You even got, that might even be a baby right there. Getting in there and showing his little, little self. This is what was going on. Introduced into Rome from Lower Italy. So in case you were offended by what I said earlier, speaking about the other nations, the European nations, this was in Italy, introduced by Rome. These are the people that are doing these things and then enforcing it upon you when they conquer you. The Bacchanalia were first held in secret, attended by women only, on 3 days of the year. Later, admission was extended to men, and the celebration took place as often as 5 times a month. They couldn't get enough of this. They couldn't get enough of having a wine feast, of getting naked in front of everybody else. The reputation of these festivals as orgies, that's what you saw here, was an orgy. Excuse me, guys, I'm sorry. I know y'all are religious. I know y'all are probably grabbing and clutching your pearls and losing and gasping for air right now because you just can't believe that in a spiritual conversation we have to talk about these things. But we have to talk about it because soon y'all are going to be getting your birthday sex. Soon y'all are going to be getting your Christmas lingerie to fornicate in. Soon you're going to be in your little naughty nurse outfit for Halloween. And Christmas time is going to be a lot of ho-ho-hos, right? Soon, that's what's going to happen, and I'm trying to help you prevent that. That's why you need to hit that share button, right? Because you know some ho-ho-hos and some naughty nurses. You know some men that are wanting to get entry into this event 5 times a month. You know some. But if you're offended, read a Bible and get your spirit together. So, what does it say here? It says, the reputation of these festivals as orgies led in 186 BC to the decree of the Roman Senate that prohibited the Bacchanalia throughout Italy, except in certain special cases. Surprisingly, a copy of the decree survives, as does an account by the Roman historian Livy. Nevertheless, Bacchanalia long continued in south of Italy. So that's that. Now we're going to go. Here it goes. It's getting worse. All the imagery. Please don't be offended. But it's wickedness. It's pure wickedness. Let's go to Wikipedia. The Bacchanalia or Bacchanal Carnival were the Roman festivals of Bacchus based on various aesthetic elements of the Greek Dionysus. So we read a little bit about that, but I wanted to point something out. This is also known as Carnival. Now, y'all gotta forgive me. I gotta show it. Y'all stay in the spirit, okay? I'm gonna Google. Let me censor it. You know, I don't want to pop nothing on you that you may not be ready for. But Caribbean islands celebrate this thing called Carnival. Caribbean islands celebrate what you call Carnival, which is just another form of the Feast of Bacchus. So I'm going to look it up real quick. I don't want to put it... See, I almost offended the sister Gabrielle. I'm sorry, Gabrielle. But I was showing the Feast of Bacchus because we're reading about the Feast of Bacchus in the scriptures. We're reading in the Maccabees where this is what our people were forced to do, to now where it's a little normal. So I'm going to be a little censored, if you will, if you give me a moment. I'm sorry, sis. I'm sorry. Now, we'll go to Brazilian Carnival here in the Wikipedia. No, we'll start here at Carnival and not Brazilian Carnival. It's safe. It's safe, sis, I promise. Well, no, I don't promise. Let me rephrase that. All right, Carnival is the Western Christian festive season that occurs before the liturgical season of Lent. So this carnival is a Christian thing, and it occurs right before Lent. The main events typically occur in February or early March during the period of, historically known as Shorevatide or pre-Lent. Carnival typically involves public celebrations and events such as parades, public street parties, and other entertainments combined with some elements of a circus. This is what you call a procession. It says elaborate costumes and masks allow people to set aside their everyday individuality and experience a heightened sense of social unity. So they're in costumes so that they can experience a sense of unity and set aside their individuality. So that's another form of saying we're going to come together and be one people, one wicked people. It says participants often indulge in excessive consumption of alcohol, meat, and other foods that will be foregone during the upcoming Lent. Wait a minute. The Christians are getting wasted? I thought the Bible said, moderation, right? Well, no, these Christians are getting excessive with their alcohol consumption and eating meat and foods that will be foregone in Lent. Traditionally, butter, milk, and other animal products were not consumed excessively. Rather, their stock was fully consumed as to reduce waste. Now, you see Carnival in Rome right here. They all in their costumes. At least they're a little covered this time. I know. Gabrielle is a little more at ease now. But we're gonna go a little further here. Let me make sure it's safe, Gabrielle. I'm sorry. Let me make sure it's safe. Give me a moment. I'm checking the scene for you. So I need y'all to think about this though. Because somebody know where I'm going. Somebody knows what's going to come up here. Somebody knows all about carnival. Okay, maybe you don't. So remember what we said earlier. We talked about sex and orgies happening during this time. Well, let's see what we have here. You know what? I'm going to use a handy dandy tool called the Find. Oh, wait. On Saturday, the king's procession and his concubines scandalized the town with their sexual behavior. And mysterious Moxiophogor, little bird bonfire, is shown accompanied by the blah, 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 blah. I don't know what all of this is talking about per se, but this is what's happening in Catalonia. This is what's happening in different areas around the world. Oh, well, let's see what else we have here. Oh, after Sunday, the Villanovians continue its carnival with the children's party, Vadalet, and the satirical chorus of Carnastoles songs, and the last night of revelry. What's the word revelry mean? Oh, well, let's find out. Revelry. This means lively and noisy festivals, especially when those involving drinking and large amounts of alcohol. Okay, so we know what revelry means, right? But it says, for the king's funeral, the people dressed in elaborate mourning costumes, many of them cross-dressing men who carry bouquets of phallic vegetables. What does this word mean? Oh, phallic means related to or resembling a phallus or erect penis. I didn't mean for the class to get so raunchy today, but it is. So they're catching vegetables, bringing forth bouquets of vegetables that represent the sex organ. I see you, Malek. All praises. Thank you for joining. Hey, it's a little bit rough right now. Ask Gabrielle. She wasn't ready for what we get into. So be aware, okay, Malek? We're going into what the other nations have taught us and what we have to abstain from and come back to our laws, our commandments, and keep our holy days instead of theirs, because theirs are a bit lewd. So it says, for the king's funeral, phallic vegetables. In the funeral house, the body of the king is surrounded by weeping concubines, crying over the loss of sexual pleasure brought by his death. Oh. So it's about sex. It's about sex. Oh, okay. Well, we got to go one more place here. Traditionally, the feast was also a time to indulge in sexual desires, which were supposed to be suppressed during the following period of fasting, before Lent began. So for you who believe in the Lent festivities, right? You're supposed to be righteous, but you're being taught to get drunk and have sex right before you fast from it. Let me go sin real hard. See, that don't even come out right after you say a word like this. Let me go sin extra much. Let me increase my sexual sin so that I can then take a break from it. And then come back and do it again every year. I look forward to it, right? That's what they're saying. Which were supposed to be suppressed during the following period of fasting. Before Lent began, all rich food and drink were consumed in what became a giant celebration involving the whole community, and is thought to be the origin of carnival. Okay. Let me give you a little bit more. Oh, darn. So when it talked about the cross-dressing men, it says that mythical characters appear regularly in the parades. And these cross-dressing men, I can't read these words. Out of the carnival context is the pejorative term for homosexual. These men were homosexual. So nobody should be thinking that cross-dressing means you ain't doing some other things to go with it. Now, wait a minute. In the Creole tradition, Well, let me go back. The Brazilian groups. I wanted to make sure you knew about the Brazilian groups. But in the Creole tradition, the women wear decorative gowns, gloves, masks, headdresses that cover them completely, making them unrecognizable, even to the color of their skin. You don't even know who they are. And that is the one of the great, how do I want to say it, tricks, crafty counsels that are played on us, because you don't know who's doing what. And you don't see that you're wrong in what you're doing when you cover yourself to that extent. So it says, on Friday and Saturday nights of Carnival, when it's the Sabbath, by the way, which you should be keeping holy, there are balls that are held in so-called universities, large dance halls, open only at Carnival time. Tao Lao Loss, I don't know how to say these words, getting free and are even given condoms in the interest of sexual health. Man, so they're trying to pass out condoms and say, well, keep your sexual health during this feast of Bacchus, Carnival. Men attend the balls, but pay their admittance and are not disguised. This word right here, pick their dance partners who may not refuse. So you know what this is showing you? That during this religious festival, Christian festival, by the way, fornication and whoredom is promoted. But you know, y'all good Christians, right? And even though, you know, I know a lot of people from various places that participate in these events, we here in America, we don't know these things. We don't do these things, right? You just do Christmas, Thanksgiving, holiday, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, we're going to get there. Don't worry. Now, I'm not going to put it on the screen. I'm going to just say this. If you look up Carnival, if you look up Bacchanal, you'll see our people very, very, very pretty much naked. Very looking like strippers, but in a public place. They're not even behind the walls of the strip joint. They are on the street. Your children see it and may be participating. But these are the false holidays that we've learned to keep, and we keep them with a lot of energy. You know, even for those of you who started celebrating Passover, Feast of Dedication, Tabernacles, New Moon, Sabbaths, and whatnot, you don't put the energy that the people put into Carnival. You don't put the energy that people put into Christmas. You don't put the energy that people put into Thanksgiving, Halloween. You lightweight keeping it. You don't have no decorations up. You're not breaking the bank to buy gifts. You're not taking days off and having family come from all over the country. But for these events, they are. So now, you got a little bit about Bacchanal here, right? But in a modern sense, this is a time for drunken revelry, uninhibited. And while we may not think that we celebrate this, what do y'all do with every holiday that y'all get to, you know, in your past, because you're righteous now? You get drunk. You have sex. And you do things that were not actually uplifting to what God wanted to behold. When we celebrate Christmas, shout out to Lazarus, you know, it's the brother, you know, has some kids that be trying to tell on him and say they be celebrating Christmas. When you celebrate it, they be like, you got the party on Christmas at the club downtown. The women get in free, men gotta pay to get in. Y'all know what I'm talking about, right? It's dark in there. You can't really see who you're dealing with. You know, when the lights come on, you'll be surprised that you might be looking at a lion, a tiger, a bear, huh, Gabrielle? And there's plenty of alcohol to go around. You might actually have some open bar specials. You know, it's New Year's and you're getting the drink tickets and the entry. You got bottle services going. The women want you to buy them drinks. This sounds a lot like Bacchanal. Carnival. That's what happens on Thanksgiving, right? Thursday night, the club is open. The same setup. The same people who call themselves Christians for Christmas and Thanksgiving are then going out and getting drunk and probably falling into a situation of entanglement. Then you do Halloween. You say you're a Christian and you'll be on church on Sunday, but on Thursday night or whatever night Halloween is on, I don't know. I think it moves. You'll be the slutty nurse at the Halloween party getting drunk. These are the things that we do. And when you go to these clubs, you're not dressing like you dress on Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. You coming out of your shell. You looking like the rest of the fornicators that are in the building. You say, you know what, she got a short dress, I gotta have a short dress. She got her breast out, I gotta have my breast out. That's what the sisters are saying. And brothers are saying, I don't know her name, and I don't care, because I see what I want to see. And you become partakers in the same fashions in their sacrifice. Let's go back to 2 Maccabees 6 and 8. It said in verse 6, neither was it lawful for a man to keep the Sabbath. It ain't cool for you to have the Sabbath day off and not cook and not work and not do anything that will profane it. Or ancient feasts. It's not cool to keep Passover. It's not cool to keep dedication. It's not cool to keep atonement. Or to profess himself at all to be a Jew. Don't say you a Jew, say you black. Say you African American. Say you just American because we all one people. Say you just human because we all one people. And in the day of the king's birth every month, on my birthday, the king wanted, to eat of the sacrifices and to have the feast of Bacchus. I want to do that too. I'm just like the king. Let's get drunk on my birthday. Let's have the parade procession of harlots in my birthday, carrying ivy. Moreover, there went out a decree to the neighboring cities of the heathen by the suggestion of Ptolemy against the Jews that they should observe the same fashions. That's why you're doing what you do in modern time. I know, not you. Y'all are my fellow Israelites, but somebody that you shared the video with today, they getting geared up. They buying their outfit to participate in the same fashions of the Greeks. The same fashions of the other heathen. And to be partakers of their sacrifices. So you're wasting all your money and giving it up to the god of Bacchus. Let's go to 1 Peter chapter 4, verse 4. Wherein they think it strange that ye run not with them to the same excess of riot, speaking evil of you. Now you're evil because you won't go and be in revelry and riot like the heathen are. You're not naked. You're not drunk. You're not in the midst of fornication. Matter of fact, you're at home waiting for the Sabbath. You're around other righteous individuals. Now you're evil because you do that. But y'all got to see the correlation. Because Christmas, Thanksgiving, Easter, Halloween, Valentine's Day, Columbus Day, whatever, Mother's Day. None of these are in the Bible, but you've been forced to keep them. Just like it said, burn the book and don't let them keep their days. Make them forget it. Now you're like, oh, what? That's strange. I never heard of that. Some of you in your 30s, I never heard of Passover. I never heard of dedication. That's because the books were burned. That's because your mother was not able to teach you. But meanwhile, we find information. Let's go to a couple places about a couple of different things here. Let's read something here. Christmas, the pagan deception. Christians love Christmas, but it's not a Christian holiday. The roots of Christmas are pagan. Now, I'm reading from somebody's WordPress site. You know, the fact checkers of the world will always try to tell you that you're wrong. And because they are considered scholars, they're right and you're wrong. But whether this be true or not is up to you. You can go and find and read for yourself. Go do the research. There's plenty of books to read that will give you all of this information. The Nimrod tree. Each anniversary of his birth, December 25th, Nimrod would visit the evergreen tree and leave gifts upon it. Wait a minute, that sounds like something familiar. That sounds like Christmas. Now, when was Nimrod? Nimrod was in the time of the Babylonians. Nimrod, let's see. When was Nimrod? Let's go to Google and see what they have to say. Nimrod was way back during the time of Babel, way before we were even Israelites. I can't find any good info to tell you off the top of my head real quick, so y'all can search and research for yourself. Nimrod started the great organized worldly apostasy from God that has dominated the world until now. Nimrod married his own mother, whose name was Semiramis. After Nimrod's death, his so-called mother-wife, Semiramis, propagated the evil doctrine of survival of Nimrod as a spirit being. She claimed a full-grown evergreen tree sprang overnight from a dead tree stump, which symbolized the springing forth unto new life of the dead Nimrod. On each anniversary of his birth, she claimed Nimrod would visit the evergreen tree and leave gifts upon it. December 25th was his birthday, which was the real origin of the Christmas tree. Tradition of the Yule log. Traditionally, a Yule log was burned in the fireplace on Christmas Eve. During the night, as the log's embers died, there appeared in the room, as if by magic, a Christmas tree surrounded by gifts. So therefore, the Yule log represented the sun god Nimrod, and the Christmas tree represented himself resurrected as his own son, Tammuz. So when you read in the Bible about weeping for Tammuz, when you read about Jeremiah 10, when you read in various places, you're seeing what God is trying to hip you to about Christmas. So our Christmas tree and our Yule log have tremendous meaning. Yes! See, contrary to popular belief, which is dumb belief, the things we do have no meaning and we just do it because it's cute. But the things that you do actually have meaning behind it, even though you're not paying attention to it and realizing it. But not a Christian meaning. The Yule log is dead Nimrod, a human ruler of ancient Babylon, who was eventually defined as the Son incarnate and hence a god. A fake god, not the Most High God, a demigod, a deity. The Christmas tree is the mystical Tammuz, the slain god come to life again. So you got various places that they're talking about this information here. Thousands of years this traces back. And we notice that this December 25th, when we all know that and all agree that, okay, we don't know Christ's birthday. It wasn't in the winter. It must have been in the spring. December 25th, where we get that from? We get that from another thought, another religion, another god, idolatry. So, let me see here. I got some more stuff for you. Wait for it. Be patient. See, y'all should have been sharing instead of sitting here wondering why I gotta grab this article real quick. Okay. Here we go. Thanksgiving. So I'm in the book, Lies My Teacher Told Me. Everything your American history textbook got wrong. Well, we come to find out the Indians had never seen such a feast. They never dealt with turkey and pumpkins, corn and squash, right? We come to find out the notion that we, advanced peoples, provided for the natives exactly the converse of the truth is not benign. It emerges time and time again in our history to complicate race relations. For example, we are told that white plantation owners furnished food and medical care for their slaves, yet every shred of food, shelter, and clothing on a plantation was raised, built, woven, or paid for by black labor. Today's Americans believe, as a part of the political understanding of the world, that we are the most generous nation on earth in terms of foreign aid, overlooking the fact that the net dollar flow from almost every third world country runs toward the United States. The true history of Thanksgiving reveals embarrassing facts. The Pilgrims did not introduce the traditions. Eastern Indians had observed autumnal harvest celebrations for centuries. Yeah, that's also us, the Israelites, the Feast of Tabernacles. Although George Washington did not set aside days for national Thanksgiving, our modern celebrations date back to only 1863. So all of this time we've had biblical fall harvest celebrations, but yet only recently in the last couple of 100 years did Thanksgiving even come about. During the Civil War, the Union needed all the patriotism that such an observance might muster. So there was a need for patriotism, and an observance like this might bring this forth. So Abraham Lincoln proclaimed Thanksgiving a national holiday. The Pilgrims had nothing to do with it. Not until the 1890s did they even get included in the tradition. For that matter, they were not commonly known as the Pilgrims until the 1870s. So the topic of today's lesson is what? Lies the oppressor has taught us in these fake holidays, right? Man, your beloved Abraham Lincoln, who you think is one of your favorite presidents because he freed you, he concocted the Thanksgiving story to build patriotism within the country, which every time he made a decision, whether it was to free the slaves, it was still for white empowerment. To give Thanksgiving, it was still for white empowerment and the triumph over the Indians. The ideology ideological meaning American history has ascribed to Thanksgiving compounds the embarrassment. The Thanksgiving legend makes Americans seem ethnocentric. After all, it is our culture. If our culture has God on its side, why should we consider other cultures seriously? The ethnocentrism intensified in the middle of the last century in Race and Manifest Destiny. Reginald Horseman has shown how the idea of God on our side has been used to legitimize open expression of Anglo-Saxon superiority. The things that are created are meant to show white superiority is what that means. Vis-a-vis Mexicans, so superior over Mexicans. Native Americans, superior over the Indians, which no one likes that term anymore, right? Peoples of Pacific, Jews, and even Catholics. Even though these Catholics are the ones who started it and the Jews who started. Don't act like we don't know that. Today, the textbooks promote this ethnocentrism with pilgrim stories. They leave students less able to learn from and deal with people from other cultures. So, I wanted to show you this because even within Thanksgiving, it's showing you, and even other nations of people understand this, that by teaching you these fake holidays, it makes you unable to be accepting of the real holidays, of the holy days that God has prescribed. Now, there's so many other things we could talk about, but it's 7 o'clock. It's 7-Eleven. And I'm not talking about rolling dice. So, it's time for us to depart. But I want you to think. I want you to take a moment to say, you know what? If I just learned a little bit about how all of the holidays that I was keeping stem from some things way back when. Babylon, Nimrod, Bacchanal and the Greek gods, and they lied about Thanksgiving. This is something new. It wasn't even, the Pilgrim story wasn't even real, and the Native Americans, people already were doing these different type of feasts, so they must have got the idea from someone else. So go study and do some more research for yourself. Go find out what's the truth. The truth shall set you free. You claim to be woke. Well, go wake up and do something besides watching Netflix. Get off the video game. Go learn something and then spread that truth. And hit the share button while you're at it, because somebody might can learn from this as well and then be on the same journey and path as you. Now, there's a lot of people, good, kind people who joined us today. I want to thank y'all for tuning in. I want to ask y'all to help push this gospel. And to do it by doing what? Hitting the share button. To do it by putting a brick in, maybe seeing where you can help the mission even further. Maybe you can give some alms. You can go to midweekmeditations.com/donations and donate there. And as the brother Chosen One said, hey man, I'm not trying to rob the people. I'm just trying to make sure that I give a service to the people, that they can learn something and be able to fend for themselves and their understanding, and to be able to promote their belief system even better. And in doing so, we might be able to get up out of here. But at the same time, in order to do this, I have expenses, and I've been blessed and fortunate to be able to put forth my resources to go forward. If we want to help keep this going, please donate that way. Also, there's always people in need that we try to help. There's a lot of homeless people. There's a lot of widows. There's a lot of orphans. There's a lot of people on hard times. And, when we can help them, we can. And that's what it's all about. So, midweekmeditations.com/donations. Show you all the previous midweek meditations. If you tired of Facebook making it difficult for you to find what you're looking for, if you don't want to scroll through all the social media, just go to the website. You'll find the Bible trivia. Shout out to Hadessa. Shout out to Daniel. Shout out to Yakin. Shout out to Shema. Shout out to Avia, for all of you who've been helping bring forth these great resources and tools for the people. So with that, I'm going to say shalom, and I'm going to just read a little bit more of this book called Holidays or Holy Days. Doesn't matter which days we observe. and further strengthen my understanding on these different holy days that we should be keeping and these fake holidays that we should not. So with that, I say shalom. Be blessed. See y'all next week, Wednesday, 5:30 Central.